Brandon, the information was released earlier this afternoon during a news conference with the U.S. Attorney's Office. It's all part of an investigation called Operation Shutdown Corner. A part of that raid, U.S. Attorney Mike Stewart says 17 people were indicted on drug charges. 14 of them were from here in southern West Virginia. Brandon and Riley, just last month alone, there were 95 speeding tickets given in this area. But West Virginia State Police say there really should have been more. Hey Riley, the First Responder Children Foundation started by helping families who lost someone in 9/11, but now they help first responder families all over the country. Hey Riley, yes, we're here at Beckley ARH where they're having their ribbon cutting ceremony for the newly renovated lobby, but we are also in the cath lab where they have a new procedure. And with me is Beckley ARH cardiologist Dr. Lou Valamani, and he is going to tell us all about this cath lab. So we've had this before, but what is this new procedure that we're implementing? Hey Riley, yeah, there's plenty to do and see here at a military tribute at the Greenbrier, but some fans look for a break from watching the pros, and that perfect spot is here at Patriots Park. Fans can take a break in the shade, and there are fun games to entertain teens and kids while their parents enjoy the tournament.
59 News digital reporter Paris Dunford joins us now with more details. Paris?
Riley and Brandon, Moonstruck Maple was started 3 years ago by the Seegers family. Hey Riley, yeah, the Hayes family was honored today with an award for their cattle farm. Hey Riley, we're here at the Beckley ARH open house and ribbon cutting ceremony, and with us today is the community CEO, Rocco Massey, and he's going to tell us about what's going on here today. So Rocco, why the big celebration?
Yeah. Try some of the syrup.
Yeah, I tried the coffee-infused one. That was delicious, but I didn't get a chance to try the bourbon-aged maple syrup, but I'm sure that's pretty great, too.
Yeah, it all sounds very good. All right, thank you so much, Paris.
Hey, Heidi. Yeah, the FFA was really focused on chainsaw safety today.
Students at Concord University are taking gaming to a whole new level. Check out this esports team. It's a staple that can be found across the state. A local company from Fayetteville produces soaps and shampoos that are used in every West Virginia state park. Take a look. Service animals are an essential part of life for thousands of people across the world. But there are a few things you need to know if you see these four-legged companions on the street. A popular salsa is made here in West Virginia. Now the company tries to give back to their home state. House fires are the unimaginable nightmare that could change a family's way of life forever. But modern homes may pose a greater risk to your life than in years past. Take a look. Canine officers may not always be the first on the scene, but they're an important part of the Raleigh County Sheriff's Department. I got a first-hand look at what goes into a police canine's training. When you're having an emergency, often the first voice you hear is a 911 dispatcher. That's why I decided to shadow one unsung hero. Two brothers are working hard at their family business. I sat down with them to hear their West Virginia success story. 17 people behind bars after multiple state and federal law enforcement agencies dismantle a drug trafficking operation. At a news conference Wednesday, U.S. Attorney Mike Stewart discussed a long-term investigation called Operation Shutdown Corner. Investigators discovered pounds of meth and heroin were being delivered to southern West Virginia.
The long-term investigation revealed that a stream of packages containing pounds of methamphetamine were being shipped from the San Diego area and being received in southern West Virginia using common carriers like UPS and the United States Postal Service.
During the raid, investigators say they entered one house that had 7 children living in it. Stewart says conditions of the house were deplorable.
The conditions these children were living in, they break your heart. And it raises the question of if children are raised in this type of environment, lack of role models, total filth, absolute squalor. How is it that these children are going to rise up to be citizens who are involved in our community?
Stewart says this investigation is not over and more arrests will be made in the future.
Folks who are addicted to these poisons that are being peddled in our communities, they are not our target. You are not our target. We want you to seek help, and we want you to seek help today. It's critically important. Today can be the best day of the rest of your life, but you've got to get help and you've got to seek treatment. For those folks who are dealing drugs in our community, I will say this will not be the last time we have a press conference announcing a major takedown of a drug trafficking organization.
Making our streets safer, one dealer at a time. Reporting in Beckley, Paris Dunford, 59 News. Teachers walk these hallways looking after their students, but is there a thought in the back of their mind that their students may be the next victims to another school shooting? Waiting in her dark classroom, 6th grade science teacher Megan Carr feels the adrenaline pumping through her, waiting for danger to enter through the door.
I was very focused and kind of amped up to really get the weapon.
Carr is waiting for an armed shooter, and it's her mission to seize the weapon. Fortunately, the shooter in this case was a trooper with West Virginia State Police, and this was all a drill. Still, the situation is all too real for Carr.
I've learned that in order to protect yourself and your students, we're going to have to be the one that does it, because it's going to take several minutes for the closest law enforcement to get here.
So far this year, 22 school shootings made headlines across the country, making training like this vital. The West Virginia legislature mandates active shooter training for all teachers in the state. It's a lesson troopers like Sergeant Alan Christian supports because being ready will mean saving lives.
We teach the run, hide, fight method, which is if you can get away from the danger, get away. If you can't, hide. And then in the last resort, if you have to, fight for your life.
The training starts with unedited video of the Columbine shooting. Then, teachers learn how to carry out the fight tactic and take the gun from the shooter. Lessons like these are ones for which these teachers never imagined they would have to plan. Abby Hoffner is another teacher who realizes active shooter training is now a part of her job.
It's just reality. I mean, you can't get away from it. That's what the world is like today. If you want to be a teacher, you almost have to accept that and have that plan and just be prepared and do the best you can.
Hoffner and Carr both agree teaching is what they love, and they want to be there for their students in both the good situations and the bad.
Well, I love teaching, and I can't really imagine myself doing anything else.
Teachers, professors, law enforcement officers are preparing for the worst in hopes that they'll never have to implement those tactics. Reporting in Mercer County, Paris Dunford, 59 News. In 2006, Wendy Pendry was pregnant with her first son. But she remembers one day, at 22 weeks, she hadn't felt the baby move in a while. She decided to go to the hospital to make sure everything was okay.
I'll never forget the lady's words, and she said, "When was the last time you felt your baby move?" And that was how I knew. And that was the beginning of this story, my story about pregnancy loss.
That day, Wendy gave birth to Jackson, her very first son. But when he entered the world, she didn't hear him cry. She only heard silence.
The way I felt was empty, like I had to go home. I didn't have the babies.
She knew her and her husband were meant to have a family. So they tried again, and in a few short months, Wendy was pregnant with her second son, Mason.
My doctors assured me that that would never happen again. Those are just an accident, rare. I mean, it does happen, but they were explaining it to me like I didn't have to anything to worry about.
But she did have to worry, because at 23 weeks, her baby's heart rate was dangerously low. By the time she was admitted to the hospital and saw a doctor, the baby had died.
Do the whole process over again.
The second birth was even more traumatic, knowing that she had to endure this physical and emotional pain again to leave home with no baby. But after some time for healing and some tests, Wendy's doctor found that she had a blood clot condition, which was why she lost both babies. Wendy and her husband knew they had to try just one more time, and this time she was on blood thinners and closely monitored by her doctors. This birth, however, still came with complications.
The cord was wrapped around his neck.
But the doctors caught this danger in time. Wendy and her husband now have a beautiful 10-year-old Brendan. However, Wendy still feels grief for her other two sons.
When I see him, I wonder about his brothers.
That's why she holds a walk each and every year called Always in Our Hearts, to remember the babies that were lost too soon.
I want families to know their babies are always in our hearts, they'll never be forgotten, and they were a part of our life. And I don't want women to think that they can't tell their story.
These babies may not have ever been held in their family's arms, but they will always be held in their hearts.